Well lads, I need money. The dog treats don't pay for themselves. I need a business strategy that'll get me paid. I gotta come up with a product that no one's ever heard of, but something that they'll recognize immediately. It's his video now. With hundreds of new games releasing every week, as a developer, you need to do something to make your game stick out from the crowd. Maybe not that much. It's game but thing. It's one of our favourite ways to recommend games to people, irrespective of how accurate it may be. We always compare things to one another, give things labels so that when we try introduce someone to this new thing, they can ground themselves with some expectations. I mean, why do you think genres exist? It's with comparisons like these, even if some developers find them insulting, that people get introduced to new games. Why do you think your FPS-ridden friends will happily try out the new shooter of the week, but avoid fighting games like the plague? Obviously, it's personal preference primarily, but it also comes down to familiarity. There's less to learn by hopping from Call of Duty to CSGO. At the end of the day, you're still shooting guns. So I want to make it clear now before we get into this. I'm not going to be discussing game but thing in the same way you recommend a new hero shooter to your friends, like it's Overwatch but bad, Overwatch but good, Overwatch but dead, Overwatch but dead again, Overwatch but deader, Overwatch but homophobic. Instead, I'm going to be looking at it from the perspective that this game would not exist if not for one that came before, and one of the biggest examples that 90% of people would know is Valorant. It's the easiest way to start this off and get the idea across. It's CSGO, but with hero shooter abilities. Instead of everyone being able to buy Flash, Smoke, or Molly, they're spread out among the individual characters who then have to buy them. It's the perfect game but thing in every way but one. I don't really want to play nor talk about it, so let's move on to some real shit. Mage Arena is a typical game of King of the Hill, except you're all wizards who have to shout your spells.
Yeah, because you became the goblin.
Huh? Oh, goblin!
Thunderbolt.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, actually. It's actually beautiful.
Right on
It's
to me.
absolutely stunning.
While the actual gameplay is quite simple, just run around and capture zones, the gold is in the combat and the stupidity of it all. Every spell in the game is voice activated, meaning you will always hear someone before they attack you, and when you're in a dark spot and suddenly hear fireball, fight or flight kicks in like never before.
Blast. Divine light.
Playing this game with friends is the best way to experience it, because hearing the panic in someone's voice as they shout spells at you meanwhile none come out because the game can't register the sounds since their mic is peaking is actually hilarious for both parties because you both start laughing so hard you need to grab your inhaler. I definitely have my issues with it. You really need to be playing with a group of friends because queuing with randoms in this game is prime territory to hear slurs you've never even heard of before, and it really struggles with most accents that aren't American or British, and even its Indian accent setting only works on incredibly thick Indian accents, all of which can be quite funny during frantic fights, but it gets annoying the more you play. Mage Arena couldn't exist without taking the existing game, or really game mode because it's so common in control points, and mixing it with its own wizardry. It took the original game but added its own thing to create a completely new one that stands on its own. Now you may say Valorant did as well, and you'd be right. I just didn't want to reinstall it to get more footage. So I hope by this point it's clear. I'm talking about games that have clear inspiration they're proud of, but added their own thing to create a new experience. So you may as well look at a personal favourite of mine, Your Only Move is Hustle. Now, I've spoken about Yomi a few times before, but god, I really do love this game. And talking about it is just a great excuse to play more. For the unaware, Yomi is what happens if you took a fighting game and made it turn-based. Both players select their moves each turn and watch them play out at the same time. It's actually just like Pokemon battles in a sense. It's also a game that couldn't exist without its inspiration, which it wears with pride. And while it isn't a game, I'd certainly liken an extra bit of how it came to be to stick figure fight animations. Yomi is just a really good time. It gives you that fighting game satisfaction of outplaying someone, but without the hours of labbing. Not that the hours spent practicing in a fighting game are a bad thing, not at all, but rather you can pick up and play Yomi without needing any mechanical skill at all. You don't need to learn your buttons because it's all right in front of you. You have to select each move from what's available in front of you. To some, that's a drawback, but sometimes I just want a bit of a more slow-paced, methodical game to play. But it also means that, at least for me, I avoid the problem of muscle memory, or better put, I avoid relying on a bread and butter. I only started playing fighting games a little over a year ago, and while early on I did find a combo I could do well and start at many points on Giovanna, it also had the unfortunate side effects of bleeding into every fighting game I play. I'll hit the buttons for that Giovanna combo when I'm playing SF6 and I get into an even slight autopilot state, and the fault of that is naturally on me, not the games, not at all. But in Yomi, that problem cannot happen because the pacing of the matches gives me more time to think about what the best play is each turn. Neither game in this case is above or below the other, but the difference is that the turn-based twist offers Yomi, while still functioning like a fighting game, is just flat out cool. In fairness, there is one thing that the twist adds which works against it, or better put, makes one of my least favorite aspects of fighting games even worse. Yomi is turn-based, literally and figuratively. If you play any fighting game, you'll be familiar with the terms plus and minus and how in real time, certain moves being minus on block means that it should be your turn at the end of a block string. They're still performing their last move, and now you can hit them to take your turn. During these figurative turns, especially so if you land a hit and actually get a combo going, you're now the only one playing the game. So when you're the one getting comboed in a fighting game, you don't get to play the game for a few seconds. Not the worst, but when you're first starting out like I was recently, trying a new game or just playing someone far better at the game that you already play a lot, it can just be kind of annoying. Losing complete control that often, not a point against fighting games as a whole, just one that can irk me personally, especially if it's a new game that I'm trying to learn. Yomi takes this and makes it even worse. With the standard timer for turns being 30 seconds, if you get hit and are stuck on a combo, you could end up not playing the game for several minutes. Now this is fully offset by the presence of burst, which is always available and allows you to escape a combo, but it can also be parried and allow the opponent to keep their combo going. This guessing game makes being stuck in a combo far less uninteractive, but if you get stuck in another one or flub your burst, I will admit, being the person who's being dribbled like a basketball is a lot less fun than being the one doing the dribbling, because Yomi games last far longer than literally any fighting game match. It's incredibly pick up and play in its ease and access, but not in its time investment. Regardless, I find these differences plain fun. Both Yomi and the fighting game genre share so many similarities, being that they're all fighting games, but the one thing Yomi adds in completely separates it from every other fighting game, giving it new strengths and weaknesses in terms of its enjoyment and design. So even though it's literally just an anime fighter, or maybe a platform fighter depending on who you ask, but turn-based, that creates an entirely new game which is far more than just a single sentence of a selling point. Also, being turn-based comes with the benefit of every game turning into absolute cinema when you watch the replay, so really it's just the greatest game of all time. So Yomi took a game without turns and added them, so what if you took a game with turns and removed them? That is how you get Hyperchess. Now there's a lot of games with chess that I could talk about and I will come back to them, but let's focus on Hyperchess first. Yourself and your opponent make your moves whenever. Each move costs 1 mana, and when you set a piece to move, it can't be changed. You can make a piece move multiple squares at a time for safety, burning through mana, or you can full send it. But if any piece collides from the front, they get destroyed. Regular chess rules are still at play, just how and when the pieces get to places is all that changed, but that alone completely alters the experience. Hyperchess is just fucking hilarious. While at the start of a round it's similar to chess, a lot of the openings still have applications, it can get weird fast. How exactly? You can shoot yourself. Sacrificing pieces takes on a new meaning in Hyperchess, since you can take out your own, whether it's intentional or not. You need to be careful with your own inputs, or you can just say fuck it and make your queen march through your pawn to the opposite end of the board. And speaking of pawns, they're a little bit different. If you play checkers at all, you know how you can take multiple pieces in one move if they're lined up enough. Pawns in Hyperchess can do something similar. Every piece moves at a bit of a slow pace, except for pawns. Pawns can move diagonally all the time, and they make that move quickly. But if they don't capture a piece when they do this, they slowly return back. This little interaction allows for actual movement tech in chess. You can intercept pieces as they move, and even take multiple pieces at once if the positions and mana resources line up. But above all of that, you can dodge attacks. Now the actual applications for this are limited. There's very few instances where you get to save the pawn, because if it returns to the space while it's occupied by an enemy piece, it dies, but it's still a really cool and niche option. Hyperchess turns chess into a resource manager, and it's unbelievably fun. It becomes extremely frantic when both players are on low mana and threatening each other, even more so when kings go on the offensive. Speaking of which, you can make the kings kill each other. Deciding the positions of your pieces holds a different weight than in normal chess, since once they start moving, they become a weapon. You can choose to sacrifice a piece and meet them head on, or just dodge. The games actually get really in-depth for such a silly concept. The bait and trap possibilities are just as in-depth as with regular chess, just in a different way entirely. Also, pawns can merge.
Spaces. Up there!
What the What the fuck is happening?
Make it out what you will. Something you'll notice is a lot of these games tend to come from indie developers, and there's a variety of reasons for that, but let's take my favorite one. Spite. Honestly, I'm not sure if I can talk about this game without Nintendo suing me. I mean, these guys would patent Air if they could, I wouldn't put it past them. Palworld is basically Pokemon if you shoved it through Unreal Engine with a hint of Nintendo hire this man. I'm being a little mean, but honestly that's just because I never really got into Palworld. The creature designs didn't appeal to me, the gameplay just didn't seem all that intriguing, and above all else, I was busy. I can certainly acknowledge that Palworld would fit this discussion, but I just don't really have anything to say about it other than I wasn't interested. That said, I know something that I was quite interested in. I gave Omega Strikers a try for the first time in preparation for this video, since I frequently heard people describe it as Rocket League but a MOBA, and this game has sauce, lads! Why didn't I play it at launch? While I definitely get what people mean by saying Rocket League MOBA just by the vibes of how the game works, sports game with video game logic, however, it's literally just air hockey but a MOBA. While I haven't fully explored the game because these characters are bloody expensive, what I have experienced really deserves praise. Ignore that. Juno in particular really makes the entire game stand out to me. Her set play with slimes really got me hooked. The puck could be in a war at the top of the map, but if it breaks free, you can clear it away to the goal by chaining slimes. I adore when a character can create little eureka moments like that. Now, all this said, there is one critical issue I already alluded to. I can't even get a game. I only played a couple hours of Omega Strikers, and my biggest complaint is that most of those hours were spent in queue. It's really unfortunate because I can't even play the ranked mode, where I assume most of the remaining player base is, because I can't even play any games to unlock new characters. The devs of Omega Strikers are working on a new game, and with how much I did enjoy my short time with Strikers, I'll definitely have to give it a look. Fuck up, do a rapid fire round. Nothing together. What do you want me to say about the Marvel Rivals predecessor, that it's got the hentai tag on Steam? That was a given. Nothing Together is a battle royale about doing nothing. I really think this is in the wrong video. Hexseed. It's Minesweeper with hexagons. What am I meant to say? They changed the shape of the bombs. It's Minesweeper for people who have a crippling fetish of shapes that can be divided by 3 cleanly. It is fun, and for how simple the change is, it does wildly alter how Minesweeper plays, but it's also Minesweeper. I'm not sure what else I can say about Minesweeper on a Tuesday, lads. I mean, that's Friday night activity. Gentlemen, how about some totally accurate battlegrounds? It's tabs but battle royale. I think the most noteworthy thing I can say here is that I can't find a game. Though there is one thing I can mention about totally accurate battlegrounds, which is actually a great example of how this concept plays out. A certain game or genre that's really popular is taken as the base and given a twist. Coming up in the last decade or so, the Battle Royale has been one of the most popular genres to use as a base, especially when Fortnite blew up around 2018, and let it be known that Fortnite itself was a game but thing. Epic saw the success of games like PUBG and H1Z1, and if you want to stretch things a little bit, Minecraft Survival and Hunger Games, which in and of themselves were based on, oh who would have guessed. Regardless, Epic saw these and said, what if we take our existing game, Fortnite Save the World, take the building mechanic and gunplay, and add that into a battle royale, and proceeded to make one of the most popular and profitable games ever. When a genre takes off, you see so many others try to put their foot in it. Battle Royales alone had Realm Royale, a battle royale coming from the Paladins developers, basically controlling exactly like it. Apex Legends, a battle royale but as a hero shooter. Battlefield and Call of Duty stepped into the ring with their namesake games but just as battle royales, and all of these were to varying levels of success and failure. But then you have the games that took it a step above battle royale shoot or bust and decided it was time to start a little bit of crossbreeding. SuperVive is a battle royale, but it controls and plays like a MOBA. The addition of the extra genre helps it stand out from the rest of the battle royale crowd, but it's also something that harms us. SuperVive is more accurately described as a MOBA battle royale rather than vice versa, since what it's trying to capture is the MOBA crowd, not the battle royale crowd. Basically meaning it's trying to take on League of Legends, a notoriously difficult task with the Stockholm syndrome that game has on its players. And sadly, that uniqueness is why some of these games don't see as much success as they deserve. While SuperVive sees a relatively decent amount of it, something like Rumbleverse, most easily described as a fighting game battle royale, went defunct because of its concept. I never even got to play this game. I never knew it existed, only finding out about it through a Yako CNM video, which makes this fact sting even more because it looks so cool. I direct you to that video if you want to find out more about it, because it's far better to hear about it from the mouth of someone who actually played the game, but in my opinion, part of why it failed was simply because no one cared. Now, that can be fixed with some marketing and all, but really this game was too unique for its own good, as sad as unfortunate as that is. Fighting games, despite being huge in popularity, are also really niche. They only appeal to fighting game players. I mean, no shit, but what I'm trying to say is non-fighting game players trying out fighting games rarely last. The exact same thing happens with MOBAs as well. Both can nearly be described as an acquired taste. There's a reason that no matter what flavor they're in, shooters and platformers remain as some of the most popular gaming genres, because they're straightforward and the concepts and skills flow easily between them and even other genres. They really appeal to everybody, or platformers do at the very least. Battle royales are dominated by shooters, but other genres have taken a slice of the pie and ran with it, but Rumbleverse couldn't because it has no similarities to any battle royale ever outside of the name of the genre. The actual gameplay, despite how I describe it as being a fighting game, is not similar to any fighting game ever. I mean, look at Street Fighter and look back at this and tell me where the similarities lie. The color yellow? This is the other reason that so many of the most popular games ever, League and Fortnite in particular, are ones that started as games but things themselves. I mean, I said it at the very beginning, it helps players ground themselves with transferable skills. They already know the taste of the original dish, so this plate must be something similar but with some different spices in use. Rumbleverse, as perfect as its uniqueness was, meant it was incredibly hard to pick up, because even other games and genres which are hard to approach, like MOBAs and fighting games like I mentioned earlier, once you're familiar with one, you can transfer those skills between them all and they become far, far easier to play. Rumbleverse had nothing to liken back to, which isn't a bad thing at all, everything starts somewhere, but it also proves why that's a harder route to take, and conversely, why taking one of the most popular games ever and adding a twist is a recipe for success, such as Tetris. Tetris 99 is Tetris, but a battle royale. It's also Tetris 99. People were all over this game when it released in 2019. I have nothing else to say about it, it was just a segue to the Tetris section. Sand tricks. It's Tetris, but all the pieces gain sand physics after they stop moving. It removes the typical Tetris gameplay of stacking all the pieces and leaving room for one piece to score the Tetris because you score based on the color of the sand. If you form some way for a color to cleanly touch both ends of the screen while being fully connected by at least a pixel, they all clear, meaning that you want to play for combos rather than one big clear. Lining up pieces in sand so that when one line clears, 1, 2, 3 more will all clear after it as new sand falls onto the old. Honestly, for a good month or so, this game was single-handedly entertaining me while I was alone at the office. Keeping up with the Tetris theme, how about Hatris? It's Hat Tetris, it's like if Dr. Mario changed his PhD. Alright sweetie, they really fucked you up. Your face is not your defining feature, and you got face framing bangs. Wait this for 2 weeks, then come back to me. When it comes to Tetris games, a favourite addition of mine that I've noticed is just adding some physics in, like with Tricky Towers. I've played this one a couple times on nights out at my friend's house, and let me tell you, nothing quite hits like a room of drunk lads playing Tricky Towers race mode while they all scream obscenities at each other. Taking one of the most popular games ever to add a twist, like I've said a fair few times already by this stage, is a favourite of many, and while many games have taken Tetris and ran with the twist that they added, I mean look no further than Dr. Mario, I'm sure you get the picture, chess has been outright kidnapped by a cheetah. I already spoke about Hyperchess, but there's FPS chess, and I mean I trust you all to put 2 and 2 together on what that means. There's Chess Destroyers, which is like chess in a Minecraft Skyblock skin, you need to expand outwards to unlock new pieces and the board. Soko Chess is actually just a really fun puzzler involving chess moves where you need to reach the goal without losing any of your pieces to opposing chess moves. We have 5D chess with multiverse time travel. Did you know this game appears if you search for dating simulators on Steam? I mean, really, just search chess itself on Steam and you'll discover a treasure trove of combinations. There's anime chess, which is just chess except I can't show us. Then there's both chess survivors, which is chess except it's actually just vampire survivors. And then Passant, which is another chess roguelike. I mean, we're just doubling up on them now. And speaking of, I think the real king of game but thing isn't actually a game receiving a twist, but a genre as we've just seen. Roguelikes are everywhere. If there's a game you like, I guarantee there's a roguelike version of it somewhere. I already mentioned chess roguelikes, but let's keep up the callbacks with Drop Duchy, a Tetris roguelike. In Drop Duchy, you create a board to farm resources and build your army. Every line you complete nets bonus resources, and you can alter the base tiles of plains and forests with different buildings, like farms to create wheat fields. It's basically a deck builder roguelike in a Tetris font. One of my personal favorites is to go all in on plains and fields, with wood clearers and wooden fortresses turning forests into plains, which my farms turn into more fields, while my watchtowers use those to create even more warriors. And I'm barely scratching the surface of the possibilities in this game because I haven't even unlocked most of the other buildings available yet. But what really makes the game so fun is how it tries to throw a wrench into your board building plans with enemies. You are the one who decides where enemies get placed, and their pieces can have all the benefits that yours do. You may need to sacrifice growing your own army to stop theirs from taking advantage of it. The fact that you can never quite get the perfect build, but are also the one who influences the chances really makes combat quite fun. It uses the Tetris gameplay in a truly new and unique way to act as a base to create the deck building roguelike. And to keep the strange combinations of popular games as roguelikes going, how about Peglin, the pachinko roguelike? Or to put it in a way that more people will instantly recognize, a Peggle roguelike. So take everything that I said about Drop Duchy, replace all the Tetris mentions with Peggle or pachinko, and the review is accurate enough to work. Though I'll be saying Peggle because it's way more fun to say to me. Peglin switches up the Peggle gameplay in a variety of ways, still keeping it at the core but making something new out of it. There are 115 orbs for you to use, ranging from a completely basic one that does nothing special, to an orb that multiplies after the first peg it hits, to even one that heals you and deals damage based on the healing. And speaking of, Peglin has combat. Each peg hits adds up the damage your shot will do, the shot in question changing depending on the orb used. The board itself has crit and refresh pegs, so you can always have spots that you may want to try and aim for instead of just shooting blindly. But if that was all, Peglin would be fun, but also just a little basic. Games like these need multipliers somewhere to keep them from turning into simple equations. This is where relics come in. Relics are passive effects, and there are 179 total in the game. They range from very basic effects, such as adding status effects with each shots onto enemies, to completely game-altering, like the weighted chip, which changes the damage your shot will do based on the slot it falls into at the bottom. Relics are what give Peglin the roguelike satisfaction of getting an insanely broken build. It's one that I actually haven't been able to come across myself, but one time my friend got a truly AFK to win build, where she had gotten rid of all of her orbs, putting her in a state of constantly reloading, which she combined with Round Guard, which makes her immune to damage while reloading, and Bad Cheese, which deals damage to enemies when she reloads, meaning she was completely invincible and dealing damage each turn. It's literally standing there menacingly, the build. Peglin has even more sauce to it though. Navigation between stages is really interesting as you need to make a shot to decide where you go. They also add a fire pit that will damage you so you can't just fire randomly. And all of this has been without even mentioning the boss fights. They are so fun with all the different gimmicks that they have, some of which even affect the pegboard itself. Everything about Peglin really stacks up to make it its own game entirely. There are even different goblin characters for you to play, which I would love to talk about, but I haven't been able to unlock them yet. I had one run where I got 44 stacks of Spinfection out of the 45 that I needed to unlock the next character, and I still haven't emotionally recovered from it, or even gotten close to that count again, but is that not the true roguelike experience? If anything, I'm starting to realize that if I want to make money, I should just turn my life into a roguelike. Maybe at the start of each run you pick a new gender? You know, I really feel like this sends a message that's going to get lost in translation. May as well talk about Balatro. We all know what Balatro is. It requires no introduction. It's one of the greatest games to just chill out with, and it's a masterclass in music mixing. What could I possibly have to say that can add to this discussion, other than the fact that they took a vice and turned it into a roguelike, of course? Put the house on this. Like really, this is another case where I just don't know what to say. There is nothing I have that could possibly add to the Balatro discussion that hasn't already been said, outside of the fact I got all the footage for this on my 3DS. I mean, once again, it does prove that you can create a truly great and entirely new experience by just combining two pre-existing ideas and meshing them well. I mean, Balatro is just poker, but as a roguelike, but the simplicity of that and the insanity that ensues from that simplicity is what makes it so stupidly fun. While I was researching games I wanted to talk about for this, one idea entered my head. How do I count spin-offs? Staying on the roguelike topic, take Elden Ring Night Rain. It's Elden Ring, but a co-op roguelike. But something about it just felt like some sort of cop-out. I mean, nearly every spin-off can count towards this. It's Persona 5 but a Warriors game. It's Persona 5 but a tactics game. It's Persona 5 but bad. Like, really, spin-offs would actually make this list way too big, and in the first place, I think we're already above average. Hence why I avoided them, because it would just lead to a lot of filler, like, oh, it's a fighting game but with League characters, instead of stupid bullshit like Bap Bap. I've spoken about Bap Bap before, but it wasn't enough because I loved this game. I will leave the bulk of my analysis and thoughts on it to its own video, but basically it's a MOBA party game roguelike. You know we're getting serious now because I'm after adding a second descriptor. In Bap Bap, you pick a character and enter a battle royale style map. So really it's 3. The last person or team standing wins each round, but everyone gets to pick a new augment, which is where the genius of its gameplay lies. Winning feels great because obviously you won, but losing doesn't even feel bad because you get to pick a new shiny power, ranging from basic stat upgrades to character specific ones that change how your abilities function. The game is fun at all stages. There's always tension during fights, but the release of that tension never feels frustrating like how it would in competitive games or even other party games. It's always a good time. Losing is rewarded, but don't let that confuse you in the same way it would in other games because it's not a bad thing. The winner of a round not getting an augment while the losers do is actually a balancing mechanic. Say someone got a really broken augment to start the game off, they win 3 or 4 rounds in a row. After a certain point, the sheer volume of augments held by others will beat out the initial starting strength of the previous one. Say everyone got an augment when the round ended, which is a setting that you can turn on. It would mean that the person who got the strongest augment in round 1 would keep gaining strength and keep up with everyone else. Rewarding the losers is what keeps Bap Bap matches so close. It keeps them tense, but it also keeps them absolutely hilarious. The final game I want to mention is actually an indie gem I discovered while researching this video, one that only came out last September, a roguelike monster tamer, Ethermancer. Now, really, the more immediate way to describe this is Pokemon with a roguelike, but I feel like that does a bit of a disservice to it, because Ethermancer really isn't trying to replicate a Pokemon feeling, at least not like other games do. While you do throw objects at monsters to capture them, this isn't a monster exactly that you're using, but something closer to their memory. Across each run, you can summon monsters which you've copied the essence of to fight with you, to a max of 3 in battles. The game uses an elemental break system. Hit someone with the element they're weak to enough and you'll stun them for a turn. Quite basic, but the big draw and what really kept me engaged in the combat was resource management. Each turn you gather Ether, which you spend to perform your moves, of which there are 5 different types. Some moves generate it, some cost multiple types, and in general the strength of a move is tied to the amount of Ether that it costs. Balancing your Ether to set up for your big damage turn, while still keeping your damage and status effects high so that certain enemies can't heal back up, really keeps you engaged throughout the entire battle. And since you can capture bosses and use their essence, even more possibilities open up. Like when I captured Warden, who's able to remove Ether from enemies, letting you siphon away their strength while building your own. Even with all of these, it would be a pretty fun but repetitive RPG, even with the various monsters. The true cherry on top is the types, and these are not like Pokemon ones. Every monster has some key types which their moves apply, so to speak. Basically meaning that when that move is used, it will perform the role of that type, generally being one of the things you want to build your team around. Types are sort of like a tank DPS support descriptor, just telling you what jobs the monster performs. In my first run, I had 2 monsters with the sidekick type, which allows them to follow up on allies' attacks when active. I could then set up these chains, where even weaker attacks used to generate Ether would still do significant damage, letting my DPS stay solid while approaching my key power bumps even faster. And this is without talking about traits, key passives that each monster has. Take Warden, who I mentioned earlier, whose signature trait is Power Nexus. For every 5 Ether it steals, it gains the Power status effect, increasing its damage. And I'll come back to these in just a moment. Ethermancer really has a fair bit of challenge. I got fairly far in my first run, farther than I think was intended, because the game is actually a roguelite, not a roguelike. After losing all my monsters in one fight, I was brought to Pilgrim's Rest, and considering this video is all about comparisons, it's very much like the House of Hades. You can buy permanent powers here to help you in further runs, from unlocking new starting monsters to permanent upgrades during runs like the shopkeeper having an extra discount or your healing flask holding more charges. And during a run, it's everything outside of the combat that really adds to the Pokemon roguelike experience. Every level up, or when you simply summon a new monster, you pick new actions or traits. And as many know, I love systems that let you customize what you use and create really strong synergies. Build systems tickle my brain in just the right way, and Ethermancer only adds to it with the sheer amount of choice and variety the roguelike nature offers. While I haven't had a run bring me far enough to have explored every possibility yet, that's actually something I want to use about why this game, out of all the ones I've spoken about, is truly my favorite recommendation if you're looking for roguelikes. This has to hop onto your list of ones to play. There's so much depth and exploration in the possibilities with this game. It always makes me want to just boot up one more run, and the difficulty in it always feels fair. And you know, I got one more in me. Picross roguelike. You know, seeing all these games which are a mishmash of different ideas and inspirations, which are all brought together in such a way that they create entirely new experiences, it doesn't mean that I need to copy them. Yeah, they draw heavily from their inspirations, and the games themselves do remind me of what inspired them, but that doesn't mean that I'm playing them to experience something similar to what came before, but rather I'm playing them to experience something new that couldn't have existed without those inspirations. And I think I've got it. Irish Scott the Waz.